Now we're ready for balance practice. This is where the fun really begins. It's better to practice balance more frequently for shorter sessions rather than less frequently for marathon sessions. So if you can do 30 minutes 4 times in a week, that's probably preferable, assuming that you're warmed up, to doing 2 hours once a week. Because handstands are a skill, we have to visit them frequently. It's like learning a new language. We simply require lots of little practice sessions. In your session, you should be looking for consistency and quality across the board. That's your #1 priority. That means that if you can hold something for 30 seconds in your first set, you should probably only hold it for 20 and do multiple sets. The total amount of hold time you'll accumulate across your session will be higher, and so will the quality. Applying the 66% rule is a great way to keep yourself on the straight and narrow, progressing in the way you want to. So if I could hold a 30-second wall handstand, I would do 20, and I would do 2 to 4 sets. And for each of these movements that we're going to cover today, we're going to apply that same kind of principle. We'll hold for anything from 15 to 40 seconds. It's not an exact science with this one. It needs to be long enough that you're settling into the position with a good shape and it's not too far beyond your ability level. And it needs to be within that 66% principle, but other than that, you can kind of go back to basics and hold for longer. But don't rush ahead if there's anything that you can't hold comfortably for at least 15 seconds, okay? So there are 3 keys for all of this balancing stuff. To simplify it, we focus on the hands, that's #1. We push and lengthen, that's #2, so pushing through the floor, lengthening the body vertically. And #3 is we're going to hold lightly, which means it's not like the bodyline drill. We're not going to be crunching, we're not going to be squeezing really hard. There is the minimum necessary effort. That doesn't mean no effort. You might be working hard because this is new to you, but you're not working harder than you need to find that alignment and to find that skeletal ease of posture. So the balance work begins with level 1. Level 1 is the frog stand. Similar to the crow stand, we're going to be working on balancing with the wrists, getting the forearms conditioned to cope with the load of our entire body weight on top. So for the frog stand, I'm placing my hands at the width we've discussed, so shoulder width, lightly fanned fingers, looking between my index finger knuckles, everything's in contact with the ground. From here, my knees are going to go on the outside of my slightly bent elbows. So knees are on the outside of the elbows with the crease meeting the point, crease of the knee meeting the point. I shift my weight forward, still with bent elbows, and I'm using my forearm as a little bit of a bench top. I'm using the top of my tricep and my elbow to rest my legs on top. There's a bit of a squeezing between them. I'm squeezing my legs into my elbows for a nice, strong connection. But there's not a lot of effort. It's more just a leaning forward, pressing onto the elbows. And then we go onto our tiptoes. And level 1 will begin just with weight on the tiptoes. We'll just get used to this. I'm pressing through the floor with my hands, spreading my shoulder blades, and my elbow is directly above my wrist. Then I begin to step my feet, alternating side to side, like so, gradually building up more float time until I can hang out here like this, working on my balance through the hands, making those minute adjustments for about 30 seconds. I would recommend building this one up to a minute so that you can really be sure your wrists are ready for the next step. A minute of a frog stand will set you up with some good wrist strength, and then all of your fully inverted stuff will shine. The next one up is level 2. On level 2, we're going to be working on heel pulls and toe pulls. So, a heel pull is when the heels are in contact with the wall and I'm leaning my lower body to pull them off. I'm not going to be kicking off the wall. I'll show you what I mean by this. So I'm going to kick up, which we will cover next, and then I'm going to bring one leg away
and lean my shoulders away from the wall until my heel floats off, using my fingers to balance, and then I'm back on. Then I bring the other leg away, fingers are balancing, and I float off. Whoop. Too far on that one. And so that's it. You want to be able to do heel pulls for sets of 8 to 12. So 8 to 12 switches, they can be quick, but what I don't want you guys to do is kick off the wall. So this is not a heel pull. We see this a lot with beginners. It's really important that you use your fingers to come off the wall, supported by your shoulders, floating, rather than kicking. Because kicking isn't going to teach you to balance from the bottom up, which is one of our key principles. So toe pulls are the same, they're also level 2. Toe pulls, we're facing the wall, we walk up, and I'll take about a foot away from the wall. This is one that you can do when you know how to bail. My toes are on, and I lift 1 foot away, lean my shoulders away from the wall slightly, lower the fingers, and float. Then return. Then I bring the other foot away, lean, float, and return, and so on. Again, I'm not kicking, no kicking with the leg. It's all leaning with the hands and the shoulders. Once you have the hang of the heel pull and the toe pull, level 2 is covered. You should be able to consistently do sets of 10, getting about a second of hang time in between each set. You really need to dial these ones in before you go to level 3. So, level 3 is the heel and toe switch. To demonstrate these ones, we'll set up the same way, but we'll take a bit more distance from the wall. So for my heel switches, I'm going to go about 2 feet away. I'm kicking up, touching the wall, pressing long, a little bit of activity in my abs, and then I bring my foot further away. So from here, the feet are going to meet and go through neutral together, like a scissoring motion, and then switch. And then the other way, scissoring, switch. And the objective is to have the heels touching the wall very lightly, and you're using the counterbalance of the legs to make the transition. So the legs are apart, you're balanced. If one leg goes too far without the other leg meeting it, then you're going to fall. Then we practice the same thing with the toes. Toe switches. Again, walking up, a little bit more space on this one. Maybe 2.5 feet. Same principle, nice and long, loaded through the hands. And then we're switching the toes, meeting somewhere in the middle. Meet, touch, and then meeting in the middle, and touch, and so on. So, level 1, 2, and 3. Each of these you should be able to do 8 to 12 with a nice pause in the middle for multiple sets before you move on. We're going to cover the kicking up and the bailing after this, but this has prepared you for level 4.